thought technology passed this point where you have to manually do things. All right, how are we doing? Come on, guys. You need to give us some energy so we give you some energy back. How are we doing? All right, good, good, good. Okay, so stellar lineup, excellent panel as usual. All of them are used to fighting it out and being very eloquent in their words as well at the same time. So I think my job will be very easy today. I think you already heard their names. You see who they represent. I don't need to introduce them. Between them all, they have a very interesting grasp of our sector. The panelists, 2 panels ago, the moderator did a very good intro, and I was thinking, how could I introduce this panel? And if there's one way, we've been doing this for quite some time, and if there's one thing that I can say about media, it's the more things change in the MENA region anyway, the more they stay the same. So our distribution has changed, our consumer habits have changed, our content types have changed, but we still have this wonderful MENA segment where making money is one of the hardest things to do. But we have some people here who are giving it a very, very good shot. So, without further ado, if we have time, by the way, at the end, I will try to take some questions, so please prepare some tough ones for the crowd. Okay, let's kick it off. First question to Maz. Today, NBC announced their results. SVOD was a very, very high growth, but AVOD was also very high growth. You have an ad tier, Eli has an ad tier, Sumair is entirely driven on ad sharing. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. But is the future AVOD? Have we reached saturation in SVOD? Where are you focusing?
Look, I think, as you know, Kareem, predicting future is hard. And I'm not going to claim I know the future. But I can tell you from past, making money on SVOD is hard. AVOD is even harder. And we're between hard and very hard. So trying to do both. But I think what we've experimented with on a more serious note is, so for example, with cricket, we had the World Cup and the Asia Cup behind paywall, but we made the Indian Premier League AVOD completely free. With UFC and with PFL, we make the prelims available on AVOD, and then the main card on SVOD. So that seems to open up the funnel on the top and allows for conversion. Also helps us fight awareness rather than line up Google and Facebook's pockets. We're opening up our own AVOD up top and trying to convert customers. So that formula seems to work, but it's still very early, I would say.
And Eli, was that the same thinking when you launched the ad tier?
We launched an ad light tier, so it is not an AVOD tier. I'm the guy who likes to experiment. And it's like I don't take myself very seriously. I try to figure out, okay, let's test this, let's validate it. If it makes sense, then I win. If it doesn't make sense, then I learn. I think it's still ongoing, work in progress. I don't particularly see that competing with AVOD, competing with YouTube, that's the elephant in the room. It's all YouTube. Competing with YouTube is very hard on 2 ways, the content and actually the monetization methods. It's very easy to launch an AVOD tier, very easy to launch an ad light tier. Making it make sense. Netflix had to do a lot in the US, and it's still, the ARPU is not exactly the best ARPU when it adds up everything. We have a lot of experience in, free on Anghami on terms of like advertising on Anghami, and it works pretty well on Anghami, but it's not equally the same on video. Why? Because consumer psychology changes, and because of what he is used to, right? So if we actually try to give them on streaming, say digital, the same experience of TV, which is like 8 ads on Ramadan after each other, all of that. Okay, you're going to put the ads, but you're going to reduce, you're going to increase churn, reduce engagement, and then again, have to acquire the user again. So AVOD can be a marketing strategy to bring users in, because at the end of the day, either you spend on Facebook advertisement to bring them in, or you spend on letting them come in for free. That's a strategy that we use, and that makes perfect sense. But AVOD in our region versus SVOD, I still think SVOD still have room to grow. And if we need to get top-tier content production, whether Arabic, international, and everything, we need to put in much more on the SVOD, multiple type of tiers offering, rather than pure AVOD. The economics today in the Middle East, unfortunately, still don't make sense. Will they make sense? Do I believe that we will head there? Yes, but it's not today, not 2026.
Peter, and I hear this comparison a lot about, YouTube is the future of TV and YouTube, but the economics on YouTube.
Wait, I didn't say that.
I know.
Okay.
But you said competing with YouTube is very hard. If you look at all the quote-unquote thought leadership out there, it's all about how YouTube is the answer to the woes of all television. But YouTube doesn't have the economics behind it to support the kind of money you guys spend on content. But Peter, I'm curious, you haven't dabbled with this at all.
Not yet, but I can say that we are looking into it. And some of the issues that have been raised by Mazen earlier are exactly some of the issues that we're contemplating as well. I guess there's two different types of models when it comes to advertising. You can have the AVOD model, which is the freemium model, let's call it, or you can have the ad-subsidized model, which is what the likes of Netflix and Disney are doing around the world. Now, we're sort of looking at both of those options, and I can say that we still haven't come to a conclusion in terms of what will work best for us. But I think also for us, given that we're predominantly sports, and a lot of the people that are out there want to watch sports-related content, so we need to get the balance right. But I agree with Ellie. I think it's the commercial or the model that will work best for us, if we do decide to go that path, will be dependent on how we can monetize or at least convert those customers that come to view the experience or view the service for free, and then try to convert them to full-paying customers.
Sumer, you're the exception to all of this, because you have sports and you are profitable and you're advertising based. So what have you figured out that the rest of them haven't figured out yet?
Look, so we started as an AVOD player. That's how we built scale. That's how we got the bulk of the users to the platform. And once we gave them the experience, the product, then we were able to convert them into paying loyal customers, right? So for us, AVOD was always the growth strategy, as someone rightly pointed out. It's the part of the funnel. But how our model kind of differentiates is, and I would like to take a minute to talk about it, is
30 seconds.
Sorry?
30 seconds.
30 seconds, yeah. So we kind of share our ad revenues with our most engaged viewers, right? That's our differentiation, where on Facebook, YouTube, any other social platform where you advertise, the ad revenue is shared between the creator and the platform, although it's the viewer who is the most important element in this entire economy, and they're left out, right? So for us, AVOD was the reason for our growth, and then we were able to introduce subscription models, various tiers, and I feel ad-free is a real value that users are chasing. That's why people pay for Spotify Premium or YouTube Premium, right? So the entire ad-free equation really helped us, where the same users who could have, and we did the same with Asia Cup in a few markets that we've operated in, where we gave both the options. So they could watch the ad-free version, which they had to pay for it, or they could watch the...
But do you think this could work if you had the prime rights in the prime market, or does it work because you're taking rights that are prime in other markets but bringing them as a niche?
So it depends, right? It depends on which markets you're strong in and where it makes business sense to operate in. So most of the rights that we've acquired, big ticket ones, of course, there's a lot of competition in this region. Yeah. So we try to choose the battles where we are investing, where we can do business profitably, where we have a great advertising network, where we have great brand connects. So we are focusing most of our energies there, but the same model applies to everywhere in every market that we operate in.
Peter and Maz, do you think you can apply this model given how much you guys need to pay for your sports rights?
I think the biggest perhaps challenge in our region still, and it's a global challenge, remains piracy, right? So anytime you look at AVOD, it's to me it's another way to fight piracy as well. So I do agree with Sumer in the sense that you take Pakistan as an example. I think they were very successful with their cricket rights, specifically in Pakistan. Like you said, they have a ability to monetize that. But in MENA specifically, I think, especially last 6 months, we've made significant progress on our fight in piracy. And together with Todd NOSN, NBC, and us, we have a coalition now where we're taking proactive steps to control and curb piracy. And when we do, we see a significant impact on our numbers. India-Pakistan, third final, last 10 minutes, we had thousands of signups because in the last 10 minutes of the match, still thousands of signups because we interrupted some live pirate networks. So to me, I think if we want to monetize in MENA, we got to address piracy, which we are as a coalition.
I want to push back a little bit on this one because I've been hearing about this for a long time. And this on this particular panel, it's always comes
It's one of those things that didn't change.
Yes,
Exactly. It's still there.
It never changes, and it sort of gives you the impression that if we could only solve the piracy problem, all our problems we'll all be profitable. But piracy exists everywhere. I mean, HBO's Game of Thrones season 1 was the most pirated thing ever, and that didn't stop HBO from becoming profitable. So it's not okay. You have to slow down piracy, but it's not the problem that's stopping you from becoming profitable, is
But
it?
there's a very big difference between piracy in the US on Game of Thrones and piracy in the region here on Game of Thrones. Like if you go to the US on Google, put Game of Thrones, you're not going to get a pirate site. No way. I mean, Google cannot show
But they
you.
still found it.
But in the region, Google drives you.
you can
Over
still find
here
it.
in the region, there is no legal infrastructure. I mean, yes, it's 2025, I'm in Dubai, but we do not have a legal infrastructure to be able to have no piracy on Google. Most of the traffic that drives to piracy is driven by the biggest, search engine in the world. So that's a very big difference between what happens in the region versus there. I'm not saying it's like if because of unit economics, because people got used to piracy, you could still go to places, get piracy on CDs and DVDs in Dubai also or other countries. I agree in what you said that this is going to be over there in the region always. We cannot erase piracy, but we can get better, at least parity.
Okay, I agree with that, but it's not. If tomorrow you solved your piracy problem, are you all profitable?
No.
Yes, we would be.
I
Absolutely.
mean, not tomorrow.
No, if he solves the
Yeah, he
But-
said
but
tomorrow.
no,
So
it
this
is-
is the one single thing that's stopping you from it.
It's a
not
big-
how
it's
much
a big
you pay
factor.
for
It's
the
a big
internet.
factor.
You're taking an argument and taking it to extreme conclusion, right?
Yeah, that's my job.
Of course, there's
He's a consultant. He needs to sell, right?
Let's band against him. He's like,
For the record, this panel is the worst thing for consultants to do because it pisses you all
You
off
haven't got
and
the
then
job.
nobody gives me any project.
So in all seriousness, right, we have to do our job in delivering the right experience as far as product experience is concerned, the right price.
And you all do a good job on experience. I'm not worried about experience. I'm worried about content costs. How are you guys going to be profitable with the price
that
you pay
value
for
chain
your
has to
content?
change as well. So in this coalition, for example, La Liga and Serie A are part of the coalition. They are responsible for fighting the piracy with us. So it's no longer about Todd and Stars Play writing big checks to sports leagues and then them pocketing the money back to US and never seeing us here.
What brought that change around?
Well, because exactly as Baz is saying, piracy is the bane of my existence. I said this morning as well. We have extensive amount of sports rights on our platform, more than 50, right? So we're constantly being pirated. Right? I think we're one of the most pirated sites in the region, unfortunately, for all the wrong reasons. And so, we've set up these coalitions, as Maz has said, and we're looking at, as Ellie said, looking at other legal avenues, regulatory frameworks and so forth. They're still very much in the nascent stage here. But we have a team, we have a dedicated workforce, like an army of people within the beIN Media Group that is exclusively focused on taking these pirate sites down. And we do that. We actually do it, 5 minutes into a game. If you're watching a Liverpool-Manchester City game, we take it down. We have to. Because at the end of the day, this is what our businesses are about. But what we've done, and to take it to the next step, is we've introduced a different tiering approach. So we have different tiers. And what we've tried to do is to say, well, look, for about $10 here in the UAE market, you can watch all of those rights on Todd. Now, of course, that will only be limited to your mobile phone. But if you want the full experience, pay the difference, right? So it's targeting those pirates because those pirates themselves are selling those services and monetizing, capitalizing on the investments that we're making onto those rights. And this is a major problem for us.
Peter?
May I add?
go on.
I think even piracy on websites, YouTube, Facebook, social is still pretty much defendable, but IPTV, I feel, is the biggest threat. That's behind, secured walls, and a lot of people around the world, especially in the MENA region, They're paying like $200 and getting access to 14,000 channels, including Stars Play, including Your Thought, all they want, along with Netflix and all the leading.
Okay.
And I feel that is where the control needs to be at.
I know this is going to turn into the piracy panel, so I'm going to stop
No, no,
talking
no.
about piracy now.
Kareem,
It's a
before
big
you
problem,
roll your
Kareem.
eyes again, I'll give you a successful example. I think DAZN or DAZN, right?
Yeah, I think DAZN too,
They're
but
a very
who knows?
successful example of fighting piracy in Europe and doing it very effectively. And there's case studies on.
But they still haven't turned a profit.
But that's a separate
But you cannot
issue.
link that directly to it,
Okay.
right? There are
Okay.
things in between.
You know that very bad old joke that says, how do you become a millionaire in horse racing? You start as a billionaire. Is it the same thing for sports rights in MENA?
No comment.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's the case.
Okay. We have 4 examples here. We have the guy who doesn't do sports because he thinks it's a poison chalice. We have the guy who's done sports by getting very good, smart partnerships and getting other people maybe to chip in on Italian, for example. We have the big pockets that he will not divulge how much money they spend, but if you go through news media over the last few years and just count announcements, you get a nice figure in billions. And then you look at the value of the
comment.
market, and
No comment there.
math is very simple. And we have the guy who's monetizing sports rights, major sports rights in one market and a niche way in another. He's the only guy who's profitable. Does this mean that we have to always look at sports rights as a loss leader for some other purpose, whatever that other purpose may be?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, not necessarily. We use sports to acquire customers, but then we use entertainment content to keep the customers, right? And what we're trying to do is be the best of both worlds, right? So, we have a lot of, we have the leading, football leagues. We have the leading, we have Formula One. We have the tennis. We have pretty much, there's more than 50 assets that we have on our platform, right? And we use these to try and attract the customers. But then what we're doing is we're trying to bring them on to start viewing the entertainment content and so forth. And moreover, we're now moving into more of the community-based and trying to get them engaged on our platform and keep them on our platform. So the thing is, we're all competing against each other. But at the end of the day, we're not competition. We are competition, but we're not looking at the real competitors, right?
Who are the real-
The Facebooks and the TikToks of the world and the Instagrams and so forth and Googles of the world. Why? And the YouTubes. Why? Maybe not so much YouTube, but definitely Instagram and TikTok. Why? Because they are competing against us. They are taking the customers away from us and onto their platforms. And they're also beginning to monetize the content on their platform. So what we need to do is we need to bring those customers back and say, do you want to watch premium sports? Do you want to watch premium entertainment content? Then it's available on our platform. Pay for it. If you want to watch highlights or little reels, or if you want to be plastered with advertisements, feel free. Go ahead. Go and watch it on TikTok. Go and watch it on Instagram and so forth. But I think a lot of customers out there are happy to pay for a service to be able to experience it ad-free, uninterrupted, and the quality of experience that they want. And also, we're finding now that a lot of customers are willing to pay the premium to view the content on our platform as opposed to taking it on a pirated site. Because the quality of pirate streams now is being degraded. There's, customers are even, some of these pirate sites have actually got dedicated call centers. You can call them to ring up and say, my service is down. Well, it's an illegal service, mate.
Peter, I'm with you on experience. I'm with you on piracy. I'm with you on multiple tiers. Everything makes sense. This is table stakes. To be profitable, is the answer like you're saying, combining it with entertainment? I mean, when you added entertainment some time ago, did the trend in terms of your financials go positive, up or down?
We
No
don't
comment.
we don't report publicly. No comment.
Any other opinions around the table? Eli, you combined with music. Maz, you're combining with entertainment.
I think the whole idea is like to get people to engage more, and as I spend more time, eventually, double underline under eventually, that would start making more sense. Whether in Peter's case, having all of the sports across some series, local series too, it will add up. The point is patience. Have you heard of that? And the problem is our shareholders probably also didn't hear of it. But the point is, it needs time, and and also it needs probably consolidation.
How do you,
Yeah.
my
I
favorite
mentioned
topic, but
two
we'll come
things.
back to that later.
Okay.
No, but there's,
How do you have-
sorry, Karim, but there's 57 streaming services in the MENA region. 57.
If you count them, but really there aren't 57.
The top five.
I think about
the top-
80% of
yeah.
streaming is on this panel.
The top five account for more than 60%, right? We understand that. But the point is, they're all out there. And if everybody's competing, everybody's trying to eat their own lunch, and we'll talk about consolidation. I know you want to bring that up. But I think that has to be the future, right? Because the big players will still survive. But the smaller players, unless they've got a niche that they're going to focus on, they're going to get swallowed up.
Okay, but Eli mentioned patient capital. How do you have patient capital on a 3-year bidding cycle, where every time the bids just go up?
No, they don't.
They don't.
That's
Give
the
me,
point.
give me an example of where they don't.
In the UK now, the EPL
No,
rights
no,
are
no, in the region.
Serie A, our renewal.
the same rate, right?
Yeah. So,
Did
look,
Serie A go down because BN didn't want it?
I mean, I'm not going to obviously sit on the stage and comment on that. But,
No comment.
But the,
No
but
comment.
the reality
I shouldn't
is,
have come up today. I knew I'd be. Well, I think this is the first time that Bean's been up here, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You've got me now.
But the reality is, we make fun of sports. Who's made money on entertainment? No one. It's not sports versus entertainment. It's about building scale. I can tell you today, in terms of profitability, rugby is the most profitable product we ever invested in. But is 20,000 customers going to pay my bills and going to build me $1 billion company? No. So you need scale. And audience is very fragmented here, right? Between the ethnic preferences, language preferences, you have fragmented audience. So how do you build scale if there's no single entertainment product that's going to transcend the 400 million people? You have to go into sports to build that scale. And that's why it's a necessary component
You were
of your
gonna say
overall.
evil.
I wasn't going to say evil. You said evil.
All right. But to take your words, if nobody's making money on entertainment and nobody's making money on sports, then what sector are we in exactly?
It is a challenging sector. That's why I said it's between harder and very hard, right? So it is difficult, but I think for some of us, things are turning. We're hitting that scale where at scale you will see some profitability coming to platforms. And it's not just us. I think there are multiple examples. You look at Shahid's numbers. The numbers are turning there, even just Shahid alone. So at some point, once you reach that scale, I think there is light at the end of tunnel.
We all hope so. And fandom is a very big topic right now in the media sector. Monetizing the super fans, monetizing them beyond just the watching. Sumair, I wanted to ask you a little bit, is this one of the answers?
I think this
And
is
does
the
it
way
scale
for
up?
us. We call it the viewer economy. As I spoke in the start, I think making the viewers a stakeholder in this ecosystem is very important to get their loyalty, to get their engagement. And that has really worked for us. And the way we are building the product is purely Gen Z. I mean, look at the way these kids these days, they want, what you ask my son, he's 12 years old, I ask him, what do you want to be when you grow up? He says, I want to be a YouTuber, because that's what they are seeing, right? And all these social platforms are paying out, right? So you can actually make money from YouTube, from TikTok, from Facebook. And that's what we have applied to our platform as well. And I think fans have to be the center, the viewers have to be the center of attention, rather than us pushing content towards them. They need to be involved. We treat them as stakeholders. So they get a share of our ad revenues, they get to choose even in terms of what content gets produced. And the way in our roadmap, we want them to actually invest in content with us, the way we are building our ecosystem. So I feel fans are the center stage for us, and that has been the reason for our growth so far. And I feel all the partners, they should start also thinking and looking at viewers first. That can change a lot of change the game for them.
Eli, if we're talking about fandom, you came from the music side.
I know fans very well in music. I mean, it's a very different type of fans, and we still have, music fans are segmented because, they might be relevant to one artist or to a genre of music, and we've done that pretty well on music. In video, it could be in certain cases, we have certain fans, like the whole Game of Thrones, House of Dragons, Night of Seven Kingdom coming in January, all of that is a fandom by itself. But I don't think right now we're looking at it in that particular way, but we try to use analytics to understand our users, understand how they connect to other content that we have, and make them spend more time with us, right? So the whole point of the idea that we try to do, whether we add more content or we add more sports or anything, I mean, for the remaining panelists, is the time spent is the measure of how you know that you're going to have more success. Because we're a recurring business, we fight churn. Churn is the enemy. It's that the whole thing. Because you can grow number of users or you can retain more. It's kind of better to start by retaining more before growing number of users. So for us, identifying who comes for us, I mean, we make a promise as a brand, and then the brand has to settle the experience with the users to satisfy the users so they keep coming. So we identify who comes, who are our fans of the content that we have, and we build for them, or we buy for them, or we produce for them, and we definitely market for them across the year in certain cases.
So within the context of our region, is fandom basically, then the benefit of it is getting people to subscribe or watch for longer and stay with you for longer? Or do you think we're going to get to a point where, like, you know, it's still an experiment in other markets. They're going into things like, you know, opening restaurants that are themed or merchandising and so on. We don't have that yet here.
We've done that. I mean, Anghami opened the restaurant. I mean, restaurant in Riyadh for a while, and we attracted fans of artists, stuff like that.
Is it marketing or is it to move the needle, kind of?
No, it was marketing. It was marketing, but it made sense, right? So I think a lot of that still makes sense. I mean, having a pop-up for a certain period of time definitely makes sense as marketing and having people, I mean, having fans experience something with the shows that they're engaged with in a physical place is even better. But at the end of the day, yes, the whole metric is how many, what's the lifetime value of the user? Because at the end of the day, you don't want to spend time acquiring a user for a month or two. And if the user is engaged with you, finds what he wants, he ends up staying longer. And this is by de facto a fan, right? A fan of your service. That's what we aspire to be. And the point is, like, if we take one measure, the total lifetime value of a customer is one of the best measures that we can, talk about.
Okay. Maz, you were going to jump in? Or?
Sure. So for us, we haven't done anything on the entertainment side when it comes to fandom, but sports, we've experimented with fantasy sports. So from our app, we drive traffic to our fantasy sports website, and especially for football, we've seen some very good traction there. We've monetized it through AVOD traffic, through ads. And so fantasy sports seems to be an area for us where we will double down more on. To your disappointment, it's still sports, but we seem to see...
It's still small and still not going to make you profitable, but okay, it's good for marketing, it's good for retention, which I understand. Shifting a little bit the discussion, there's a lot of, in our audience, and also when we're talking about what's happening to technology and to the sector, there's a lot of creative people who put a lot of value in the craft. But we also hear, and I remember when the Anghami OSN deal was announced, a lot of the narrative behind it was around understanding that having data about our users, and this data will allow us to then better program, it will allow us to upsell, it will allow us and so on. To what extent, and this is always a debate, this scale between gut instinct commissioning and gut instinct decisions versus entire, there was the myth of the Netflix algorithm, which turned out to be a bit exaggerated, but it's still there, of course. Where are we on this scale? I'll start with Eli because of there was a particular foundation for your deal.
I don't think we give money to HBO to produce the next Knights of Seven Kingdom because of the data that we have. So that doesn't happen. But what happens is, like, understanding the users enable you to actually know what to give them next. The whole algorithm about what you play next on TV is excessively important. Like, we are able to drive traffic to a series that might be 2 years old, that people, after finishing one particular episode or a series, go to that series and engage with it and watch it, and that is not a fresh, totally new series. And that drives more time. To understand the users, you really need to have a lot of data points on them to know what to give them, because it is hard. It's not an easy job. The new type of AI made it slightly easier, but still, for us, the more we understand our users, even on Anghami, the more we understand our users, we know what ad to put them. And that ad, if they get a good ad that's relevant to them, they're not going to complain much. But if you put 8 video ads after each other, no way. I mean, that's not going to take you, have a home run with them. So at the end of the day, we believe a lot of the data and a lot of the payment data, because we know that user pays for content on Music Say, it helped me drive decision on whether whether I give him a trial on paid or I push him to subscribe directly or not. Those are data. Data isn't actually, understanding just what the script should be. But yes, we know, because I told you in an earlier answer, it's like we know our fans, we know what they like. So, and we know if we want to buy or produce more content, we know what type we need. And when do we need it? Because, if I'm engaging my users, let's say, with a big show that's happening in February, March, and I would need much more in April, May to cover for those particular users, then yes, I'll use my data. So it's smart data, not, big data.
Do you guys have specific examples where you use data
Yeah.
to buy or not buy something, or commission or not commission something?
I have an example. I think, look, you don't need a lot of data to realize that all your studio deals are not performing. The old model. No, and I'm answering his question. The old model of output deals is not sustainable. It just doesn't work. X number of movies you're committed to, out of which 1 or 2 work, that model doesn't work, especially doesn't work for a streaming platform. So we didn't use a whole lot of data. We just looked at last 6, 7 years of economics and figured out that for us to continue building this business going forward, we need to have selected movies and shows.
What metrics were you using?
First click, consumption in minutes. So first click is when people download our app, what's the first movie or TV show they're watching, right? So that's perhaps the determining factor of new acquisitions. And then we're looking at consumption minutes and unique users on the service.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, adding on to that, what we do is we have a lot of drop-off rates when it comes to sports events. So customers will stay with us for the season and they drop off during the summer period. So what we try and do is we use the data, the last watch data. For example, if a customer's a Liverpool supporter, we know that if there's a game coming up, we'll target them based on that game coming up. And we see that the win-back rates that we get are extremely high compared to if we just did a random campaign to try and win customers back. So we're using the data, to what Ellie and Maz were saying, to understand what the consumers are viewing, when they're viewing it, how long they're viewing it for, so that we can use that for the purpose of retargeting them, trying to get them back. Because at the end of the day, keeping the customer, and the churn is the biggest issue for us as well, obviously at Todd, and I'm sure with Stars and OSM. Plus, that trying to keep those customers from churning and coming back. So when we do lose them, we use the data to help us identify what it is that they're watching, when they're watching it, to drive them to come back through those win-back campaigns. Most of the time, it's we do BTL campaigns to try to bring them back. So that data helps us rather than as opposed to doing an ATL campaign and just hoping that we'll win as many of those customers back.
I think data-driven decisions are most important, but I think judgment also does, take an effect. So for sports, it's a no-brainer. You get the World Cup or a FIFA World Cup, it is going to give you numbers. That's a given. But then when you're acquiring content or entertainment libraries, there are certain data points of how well the content has done in other markets or how the promo has been received. So there are certain data points that can help you make the decisions. But will it work in your market is then a judgmental call that the content team needs to take and take a bet on. At times, we've picked up content that seemed, very, economical, with not a very big cost, but it turned wonders in terms of viewership and the way it kind of spread across the MENA region. So I think it is data coupled with your judgment is super critical.
So let me flip this round. If I'm a producer or I'm a rights holder and I'm pitching you something, do I now pitch you the artistic merit of it, or do I have to show up and start pitching you numbers and figures? And has it changed? Because before it used to be, here are the stars, or here's the sports right, and it's very popular, end of discussion. This is the director, this is and so on. But is it still the same, or is it different?
I think it's still the same partially. It's up to us to understand the input and try to correlate with it with the data that we know is important for us, right? I don't think, when a vendor or producer comes to us with an idea, he doesn't exactly know whether, the audience target of that idea is audience that we're interested in, the audience that we need, as I said earlier on. So we just try to take the idea and just correlate it to the existing audiences because we have buckets of
Do
audiences.
you share this info with the producer? How do they know?
No, we don't particularly share the info with producer. It could be more transparent, but at the end of the day, currently it's us trying to understand our data and figuring out what we need so we can go back to the producer, tell him we need something much more targeted to that age group or that audience. Because at the end, one particular problem that was mentioned earlier, we say we are 500 million people in the region, but they're very different, right? I mean, people in Egypt, which is the biggest audience group, I mean, take Egypt, take Algeria, take Iraq, which have also Arabic, but very different Arabic that they watch. The remaining audience groups are also very segmented, very fragmented. When you look at the Southeast Asian available in the region and stuff like that. So for us, we just try to figure out what do we need right now, which is sometimes a lot of international content, sometimes Turkish content, sometimes Arabic content. Sometimes we need the group of 25 to 35, Saudi male, because this is the target audience that we want, the ones that might want, let's say, thriller content, because this is what is attracting on our audience. I don't think it's interchangeable because every one of us, our platforms have actually tried to determine and carved out a certain fan group, defined or not defined, clear or not clear, and trying to grow within it, right? And sometimes we trample on top of each other, which is very healthy, but sometimes we really stay in the lane that we think is more impacting for us because that it creates the recurrent revenue.
What's your advice then to somebody? So you're doing the work on your side with your data. Any advice to somebody trying to sell you something that change how they're selling it to you?
Shared
or no?
risk, shared risk. Because the problem today is everyone makes money in the value chain except us, right? So the sports rights.
Thank you for your charitable donations.
The producer makes the money because they walk away with the guaranteed amount. Platforms are the ones that are left holding the bag and fighting piracy. So what we are seeing now, especially with larger studios, is a shared risk approach, which makes sense. And same with the sports rights. Shared risk approach makes sense because this is the only way for us to survive. And the value chain and the expectations have to change.
Okay, share risk with a global sports rights holder that's making billions, I understand. How many producers in the audience think they're willing to share risk?
Can't count the hands.
They're tiny.
That's fine, that's their choice, right? But we also cannot just keep holding the bag.
But they're struggling to even get paid for the stuff they're producing, never mind sharing risk.
That's not true, that's not true. I think a lot of them do extremely well. I see Mazen here, he's done extremely well. So it's to say that producers here are struggling is not true. They're doing extremely well.
This is the point where I wish I had a producer sitting next to you. No? All right, Peter, you're gonna...
Okay.
No? Okay. All right. If we talk about data, the shift to streaming has already happened, so although we're not going to be talking about that, but has it changed how we think about programming? The fact that we now are not linear, at least in a lot in your services, that we are not thinking necessarily in terms of times of day and grid and so on, has that meant any significant change on the scripted side of the importance of Ramadan, and on the non-scripted, on the sports side, and the fact that we just go beyond the start of the season and the end and the churn? Has it changed, or are we still, most of the money is going into Ramadan, and most of the money is going into the big premium rights, and most of the marketing is around the launch and the final of the season? What's different?
I think, for us at Todd and the beIN Media Group, it's still very much focused around the sports, the starts and end of the seasons, right? Because they're defined periods. But what we're trying to do in between those periods is to fill it in with, other content. So that as we said, we've started to invest heavily in the entertainment content, particularly on Arabic content as well, to try and keep up with the developments that are taking place. So yes, whilst we're still going to be beholden to the start of the sports seasons, we are starting to move away from that progressively. And I think for us, pretty much in the near term, probably the next 12 to 18 months, we'll still be focused on that. But as we start to expand our offering, we'll probably start to move away from being tentpole driven and sports season start driven.
I think it's a across the year strategy anymore. I mean, it's much more that because at the end of the day, you're fighting what? You're fighting time spent on TV, time spent on mobile. Either talk about something new that we have, or as Peter, I think, or someone said on TikTok, going to TikTok and spending time because basically the option is: do we give time to the user so to enjoy something new, spend with us, or does he end up scrolling helplessly, to look up at some whatever? So if we actually go to the 10-pole thing, we're gonna still lose a lot because the user is not gonna come unless we scream we have big things.
For us, we try not to compete with NBC, Shahid, and Abu Dhabi TV in the Ramadan season. We try not to go head to head there. We try to have a cadence of new movies and new series throughout the year. So we like to be a little more evenly distributed because betting on Ramadan for us, going head to head with free to air is very difficult.
So Matt, for you, that was a strategy from the beginning because you sort of look at where you fit versus their content
Correct.
portfolio. For the rest of you, is that something that, and for sports, I guess you're not controlling the start and end of a season, so
Exactly.
you have to go with that. That leaves two other possibilities. We say we want to be all year round and so on, but are your actual budgets reflecting that? Are you putting money
Ramadan,
and risking
I think
something
Ramadan is an
outside?
exception. I think we know who spends a lot on Ramadan, and it's probably not the people on this panel. I mean, and we intentionally decide we should not spend a lot on Ramadan. That doesn't mean we don't speak on Ramadan. We're going to have stuff on Ramadan. We're going to talk about it, but we're not going to be having 50 series on Ramadan. That's not happening anytime soon. So. And that's a decision because we wanna. I mean, you can own 1 month. You can be pretty well across the remaining 11 months. Seems to be the better way for us today.
If I can add, I think 10-pole events are important, but the biggest challenge is how to sustain the spikes that you get during those, the World Cups or the Ramadan, and how can you sustain it, right? But the beauty of the Arab world is there are so many micro communities available where you get so many opportunities throughout the year, where, of course, in the month of Ramadan, the cost of production, the advertising rates, everything is high. Whereas during the rest of the year, if you're able to find those micro pockets and capitalize those, they kind of give you better results compared to if you're investing $1 million in Ramadan versus take that $1 million, spread it around the year, harness into these different cultural moments. That kind of at least works for us really well versus putting all your budgets in the peak months.
It seems going for the niches is more profitable than going for the mass. Okay, I want to build on what you do, Sumair, in terms of creator economy. You're sharing with the viewers. Are you sharing also with creators or with any content creators?
Absolutely. So see, discovery we've been talking about, we all spend crazily on, Google, Facebook, Meta. That's how people discover us, right?
Yeah.
As a digital platform. And I feel creators, the value that they bring, they have solid communities already, right? And that is what we want to chase. That is what we want to tap into. And a creator's shout out for a sports.
What's a creator in your definition?
A
'Cause this is
content
term.
creator could be anyone who has an influence, who has a community, who has social following on other platforms. Is a
So
creator.
these are for you.
So-
These are marketing partners or they are content creators.
So they are part of the new studio system. We feel we're not buying them for reach now. They are part of our ecosystem. We need these kind of creators, content creators. They could be influencers. They could be videographers. Any kind of content creators who have an active, solid community, which we tap into. So them talking about the next sports stream or going behind the scene for the next entertainment content is much more valuable than any ad spot that we run in prime time. So they are part of the equation, and so we are onboarding a lot of creators. We have a section and that is a content pipeline for us. So imagine we don't have big budgets like the partners they do, right? We are a startup. So we kind of have a content pipeline from these great creators from across categories. And our pitch to them is, you are a creator or an influencer today because of your viewers. But what are they getting when they consume you on YouTube or Facebook or TikTok? But whereas on Myco, they get something back in return as well.
Okay.
And so they are a critical part of our ecosystem and not just something that we buy for reach or for campaigns.
Peter, there's been a couple of interesting recent examples in the world of sports and creators. So there was one where Thamania became the SPL holder, a company that comes from being podcasters effectively and then turned into video podcast, and now they've launched. And then we had examples with the French league in its domestic, which you're involved in as well,
Yes.
giving a lot of rights and access to YouTubers and so on. Is this a reaction to a certain economic environment we were in, or is this something that you think becomes more and more important as we go along?
A good question. Look, I think those are very specific examples, right? We know in the Saudi market, NBC had lost the rights to Thamania, and also with the issues that League One had with the DAZN in France. So these were, in our view, a reactionary for the time being. Now, notwithstanding that, is this something that may be happening longer term? I don't know yet. I still think that customers prefer to go to a one-stop shop when it comes to viewing their sports. And I think, this fragmentation might be isolated to particular markets. I don't believe that it will be an endemic thing that will be taking place in other markets.
There's some interesting data from the US where things like the NBA has more people watching the highlights than actually watching the game, especially with the younger viewers. Do you see this as a long-term threat to who your viewers are, or?
Not necessarily, because at the end of the day, most of the customers still want, or subscribers still want to watch live sports, right? And we have a very high engagement rate. I won't reveal the numbers because I know you'll ask me. But we have a lot of our customers come back and subscribers come back and watch live sports. But of course, we also have a lot of them coming back and watching the highlights on our platform. So that's an area that we're also going to explore a little bit further in terms of how do we make those highlights available to a wider audience so that we can use them to subscribe to the full service and watch the live sports.
I think real-time highlights has been a game changer for us. We're using some AI tools there to push the highlights as the key events happen on our platform. And that's been a game changer for not only for the younger audience, but in general, we feel that highlights have become a big part of the experience. And to your point about creators and influencers, our experience is slightly different in that, for example, with UFC, we took a very successful YouTube channel called Hoshe, run by two lawyers by daytime and passionate MMA fans in the evening. They had built this organic following. We gave them access to behind the scenes and pre and post game fight access, and they've created some great content for us. And so their following is now being pulled into within our app because we're putting their content inside our app. So I think the creator economy is going to only grow, and especially with sports, is going to expand. Whether you start putting full matches with the creators is probably a bridge too far, but I think sharing highlights with them, letting them use the highlights on their social pages, I think this is happening and it's a very successful formula.
I feel we're also talking about creators as sort of a marketing approach. There's no Mr. Beast reality show equivalent. It's not the future of long-form entertainment.
Abdurrahman Abu Maleh has the closest you had in the region. That's why. He's not Mr. Beast, but he's as close as he's the biggest podcaster in the region. And I think that's one, obviously there are different reasons that we can't talk about, but that reason is made what Thamania is and he's just driving traffic because as a person, he's an influencer that has a platform and, just grew the platform and just makes sense. And because the idea is for us, and I think Sumer mentioned Facebook and Instagram ads and stuff like that. We spent a lot of money there, right? And if Maz end up paying, to those YouTubers to drive more traffic that is on point because those people follow UFC and want that is much closer to him than actually spending money on just Facebook. So the idea of creator influencers being the next phase to reach users is spot on. It's been for a while. But the question is are the users right now want also different things like vertical form content, short content, and a lot of them are going to be satisfied by some previews rather than watching a 2-hour movie or 3-hour movies. I grew up on 3-hour movies. Nobody wants long form content right now. It's impacting way less than before.
I want to push this a little bit further, Eli, because depending on what survey you believe, it's either between 13 to 16 hours a day of media consumption on average, if you group together everything, the long form, the short form, and so on, which clearly is not attention for 16 hours a day because people have lives to live. Isn't there a concern? I mean, where is the confidence coming from that all these younger, and younger could be anything under 24, where are all these younger audience who are now used to short form, used to vertical, used to highlights, whether sports or not sports, they know more of a Mr. Beast than they would know an equivalent of a Tom Cruise, and I'm aging myself here, but whatever the modern equivalent is. Where is the confidence that these people are going to actually switch back to be their parents in their viewing habits? Where is that coming from? Because the data doesn't show that right now. The data shows more fragmentation, more time spent watching, more faster growth on the short form, more money going because of the big tech platforms to it. Where is the confidence coming that the business model we have today will continue?
And hence the sports, you need that. Because
But the same big tech guys are also going after your sports content as well.
Well, they are, aren't they?
But live sports still has a place, and that's where the combination of entertainment and live sports works. But entertainment, the economics have to be addressed. The value chain has to be addressed.
How?
The idea
Back to
of
the producers sharing risk.
Share the risks.
So
And being not paying so much for sports rights.
So producers means the big studios as well, right? So because the big fat checks are not going to the local producers, right? They're going to the bigger studios. So the bigger studios, the value chain and the deals have to be addressed for the economics to work.
I think we're still waiting and figuring out. Sometimes you just don't need to. I mean, you can all add a small TikTok feed in the app. I don't think that's going to be the end result, right? I mean, we can start doing 2-minute dramas. I don't think that's going to be the thing that solves the problem you just asked for. But we're on the lookout, and we will experiment on many things and figure out what makes sense. It's work in progress for everyone, right? I mean, whether it's Netflix in the US or us in the region, we're all still looking. But do we have the mentality of trying to learn and look and test and figure out what the consumer would want? The consumer still is figuring it out because of all the changes, whether TikTok 15 seconds, now you have a 1-minute TikTok. What's going to happen later? Do we want to go into micro dramas? There's a lot of things that we're looking into and experimenting, but I guess we're going to leave some for next year, right? We're going to be on the panel and talking.
All right, 2 more topics, but if there are any burning questions, Zia. Sorry, I surprised everybody by asking questions now, so if the microphones are not ready, I can come back to them.
You have good eyes. I'm not seeing anything.
Fine.
Light
We'll
in
find
front
them.
of
We'll
me.
find the microphone. طيب. I can hear you. Yalla, go ahead.
Give me the microphone.
Mike, I can't hear anything. Just doing it for the favor of everyone.
Thanks, Ali.
Thank you, Ali. So my question is not to Sumer, since he's profitable. So my question is to Eli, to Peter and Maz. Given all the factors that you mentioned about piracy, YouTube, Maz, you want producers to invest in your platform and share the risk. What is your main reason to continue to exist? And why aren't we in a world where we're reading Todd has acquired OSN and Starzplay?
Thank you for queuing the consolidation topic, which comes up every year.
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect question for
I
Peter.
hinted to it earlier, right?
Yes, thank you for that too.
That's a good question. And look, I think, and Karim, I know you're going to get me on this. I think consolidation will happen. It's just a matter of when it will happen. Right? And yeah, I think it's an interesting play. I think the next probably 24 to 36 months, you'll see far fewer players in the market.
I mean, from 57 down to something, it's a low bar, right?
Yeah, I'm not worried about the 57. I'm worried about the top 5 or 6.
Next year?
So we have an example. We have an example of minor consolidation
Yeah.
in what Maz did with ADTV, right? So that's finally a public broadcaster saying, giving up on trying to subscale, have their own streaming service. So that could be a way to go. That's one way. We have another example where OSN has an investment from Warner, which may now be bought by Netflix or somebody else. That could have an interesting. Any reflections on what interesting ramifications that might have on you?
I have no idea what the Ellison family is trying to do right now, right? I mean, I look forward. I mean, it's interesting times. I mean, basically, it's good to be here because we happen to be in interesting times, a lot of things happening, and it's good to be part of the, actors trying to eventually be shapen by the scene. I mean, I don't know what will happen on that particular one, but the international angle in the region that we, WBD has a share in the company, it still looks good for us either way that's going to happen.
To go back to Ziad's question, you have amazing sports rights. You have a lot of international content and some specific sports rights as well. And you've started in a different way that you've built a sort of a loyal audience. You have music and the link to premium and an international investor, but you're all competing, but you've all said at different times on this panel, actually we're competing with Facebook and we're competing with Instagram and we're competing with TikTok and...
Piracy maybe 10 times, yeah.
And pirates.
Right. So, and pirates. And so if all your competition is external, what is the point of competing with each other?
But we don't
We
always
don't.
compete
Yeah,
with
exactly.
each other.
We don't.
I think we should
At
work
the end,
more.
it's the same pockets that you're competing for.
Yeah.
Well, we're competing for the attention of the viewer, right? That's what it comes down
yes,
to.
but you're sort of competing with each other, and there's these big guys. It's going. I'm got other priorities are somewhere else around the world. But when I'm done with the rest of the world and being saturated in it, I'm going to look at where's some growth. Oh, look, lovely little MENA market. Let me go and grab that as well. And then when that comes, you're still competing with each other. Who's going to be ready? Where's the moat? Where's the moat if tomorrow, like when Netflix started here,
It's your
everybody got
audience.
excited.
I mean, it's the audience. I mean, at the end of the day, we have our content locked for a really long period of time. That's a mode. But then
How long?
audience, a long period of time.
3,
It's like
5?
I'm going to use what Peter said. No,
No
comment.
comment?
Yeah, but say long period of time. But at the end, the audience that we grow is, I mean, that costs millions. I mean, whatever, tens of millions to buy over Facebook, right? It's a very valuable audience that we grow, and also the data attached to that audience because we really know what they want, and we're able to feed them and grow them, and that is quite an investment and assets.
Agreed, Eli. But let's take what's happening to ITV now. It's not a small player in the UK, and just like it's probably a rounding error on the transaction that's about to happen, where this local player is going to get taken over by an international player, and I think somebody was doing the calculation yesterday, 1/200th of the value. If that's happening to ITV, what's stopping that from happening? You've built your audience, you've spent all these decades building it and the brand and so on, and it's a little transaction for shareholders that are hungry for an exit after decades of investing.
I mean, it's different for us. We're a global company, right? So we have a global presence. Our ambition's broader. I think, we are playing in the MENA region, obviously, because this is where we're domiciled, but we have a broader agenda, right?
I'm going to be nicer to you now. And switch
Like
to the last
we
question.
have an international investor already in the room with us, so that actually solved that particular problem, honestly. No comment. I know you.
Almost.
Almost.
He's trying.
All right. I'm going to close with a couple of, just one on AI and the hype that we get around AI. Some of it is real, some of it is not. So for the benefit of our audience, if you can give me, and we can go down the line, if you give me some real examples of where AI is actually giving you good, noticeable return on the investment you're making in it.
I think the best part about AI is it's making failure cheaper. Why I say that is...
Specifically.
Yeah, so I think content creation is what we are as a media platform, and the way the AI tools are, we call it from editing to creation of content to animations to music production.
You're
all of
actually
this.
creating content.
We are
with
actually
AI
creating
today?
content.
What,
animation.
promos? What are you creating?
So we're about to launch a 24/7 news channel, completely run by AI. No need of studios, camera, equipment, anchors. It is a full-blown 24/7 news channel, and a lot of companies are actually adopting it. A lot of news outlets are also adopting it. But from a platform perspective, the entire discovery, the entire content detection, and that space is completely being revolutionized. But I feel the ad tech space is something that is really, really helping us, where we are churning out more ad creatives. There's real-time A/B testing happening, where you can actually, I can serve a different ad to you based on your profile, and I'll get a different ad served to me while a live sport is happening. So all of that is, I think, immense use cases for AI. And
Are you using it for ad targeting
we
today?
are ads targeting as well as running multiple creatives on the go. You don't.
Are you using it for creating ads for advertisers?
No, for ourselves,
yourself, okay.
of course.
Peter?
Subtitling, dubbing, customer care.
Get out of that business quickly, basically, anybody in the room.
Exactly.
Okay. Real tangible results.
Real tangible. Actually, we were awarded at the Doha. There was a convention a couple of weeks ago where we won an award for the subtitling work that we've done using AI.
Okay.
So I agree with Pete and Sumaira as well. So we're definitely seeing it use cases on AVOD as well as subtitling and dubbing. We haven't done any dubbing yet, but subtitling we're using it. But perhaps in terms of the biggest impact where it's having in terms of growth for us is personalization, and especially on the predictive side. So when customers sign up for the service, using those AI tools that are available in the market today, we're not recreating anything new here, but using existing tools from the market to do predictive personalization of customers when they first engage with us.
Are you using it to generate any content? Whether from a thumbnail to an ad to a promo, anything like that, or not yet?
No, we are using it. We're using it to simply serve the right asset to the customer when the first time they open up the app. We're not using it for thumbnail generation or a new creative, not yet.
Really?
We're using it in a multiple of places. First, the one that really made the biggest impact is on the developer side. In terms of developer productivity, probably it's like 40, 50% more in terms of what we can create and test and validate and repeat, and fail and repeat much faster, much better. That the developer experience changed tremendously. But then again, on customer care, a lot on engagement. So the push notification that you received on every new episode are actually personalized, because the AI actually watched the episode before everybody, because everybody is asleep, took out what you can send to you without, bloopers, whatever, and created the push notification and sent it to you in multiple languages. That's one example. Customer care, tremendously. Legal, piracy. We have a system for piracy driven by AI.
With piracy.
Yeah, one. But subtitles. I mean, we have in terms of recommendations, stuff like that. We've already been pretty good on that side earlier with the previous AI generation, which is anyway. AI has been there for 20 years something, but
yeah, I'm particularly interested in generative flavor.
Post ChatGPT, pre ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But I think in the back office there are a lot of all boring jobs. We're trying to automate them, because then actually get the human to think at the higher level rather than on the simple stuff. So I think there's a lot of automation that's happening. We don't intend to replace people with that. We just think that our people can do more with AI.
Do any of you expect in the next 24 months to be creating any type of content on your platform with AI?
We can, but we're not going to. I mean, on music, we're not allowed. On music, we're literally not allowed
Contractually.
to. Contractually. On video, I'm pretty sure we're going to be experimenting with something, but probably not long form.
Yes, possibly.
Yeah.
What kind?
Animated.
Anime, yeah.
Like full episodes?
Full box set.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I promised Peter that we would close at exactly 4:30, and more importantly, I promised Vijaya that we would. So 4 minutes left. Just one sentence from each of you. How do you see our sector, our industry in the next 2 to 3 years evolving?
I think consolidation, as we spoke about, will take in effect where smaller players will consolidate for survival, where bigger players will consolidate for better ecosystems, and yeah, I think that's my point.
Okay, more consolidation, Peter?
Yeah, I have three words: content, consolidation, and competition.
You can't leave me like that. Content, what about content?
Content is king. Sports content, right?
More content, more... Okay. And then the other two?
Consolidation, which we
Yes,
keep pushing
okay.
on, and competition. So we need to cooperate and compete at the same.
And you're going to make that happen. This is a statement on the Broadcast Pro stage.
Let's
No
see.
comment? Oh, let's see. Okay, good. That's better than no comment. Mas?
So just to add to the consolidation part, I think besides consolidation, I think we'll see a lot more commercial partnerships as well at a strategic level. I think more
Between
and more.
media players or with brands or...
I think between media players as well as more telecom players. I think that's a very synergistic adjacency between telcos and media. So I think you'll see more and more of that commercial partnership, and also more commercial partnerships with broadcasters.
I agree with everything that was earlier said. I'm not going to repeat the same. I love the synergy, competition, and collaboration part. I think the consumer psychology and the consumer behavior is keep on changing. There are still a lot that we don't know with what, like my younger son, whether he want to watch those, 30 type episodes. So we really don't know whether micro dramas are going to make an impact and whether we're going to have a new app for micro dramas or we're going to add them into the same product or not. What will AI have an impact, because there is no way that we're not going to be creating with AI, and the how of it and the where does art start or art and creativity ends is something I'm extremely looking forward to in the next phase. I think we're very blessed to be in this time in the world whereby we are able to be part of actors and, at the same time looking forward to being part of that ecosystem that seems to be more and more interesting.
Thank you very much, ladies and gents.
I'm
Please
here,
put your
Kareem.
hands together for our panelists, and thank you for your time and attention.